Posted?
Yes.
Yes. First on the agenda.
Commission will now take up matters to do with special one-day license applications for malt beverages and wine only. Robert A. Nista for Tuesday, June 22nd, 2010, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the space at 122 Western Avenue. Mill Building, Unit 5A, for an event, Foundation for the Arts. Kamani Lakampeng of the Temple Wat Lao Mixarium of New England for Saturday, July 3rd, 2010, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., a fundraiser for the temple at the outdoor grounds at 45 Bernier Street. Kamani Lakampeng of Temple Wat Lao for Sunday, July 4th, 2010, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., a fundraiser for the temple at the outdoor grounds at 45 Bernier Street. Also, if I may interject, the sound amplification permit request by Kamani. Yes. In addition to special one-day license applications for malt beverages and wine only, we have an applicant for all alcoholic beverages, Diana Ara Villandia, for Saturday, July 10, 2010, from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Fort Hill Park, the High Street side, for a wedding anniversary. The Board of Parks had granted a permit for that use on May 26, 2010.
You want to do the sound too? You want to do the sound too? No? Okay. All right. Introduce yourself for the record, please. Come up to the mic. Introduce yourself for the record.
Robert Nista from The Space.
Kiel Manny from Wat Lao Misanyalam.
Okay?
Dinara Villanueva.
Okay.
Which rather?
She's with you? Okay.
Hold on. I have a question for the city solicitor. It's my understanding that a one-day all-alcoholic license can only be granted to a nonprofit. Did I misread that?
Yes, that's...
Okay. We have one here. Do we have a 501c3 status?
In reference to Tom Economo, first of
No, that's been withdrawn.
To
The next one.
Ms. Villanueva.
Wait.
I mean, she could get a beer and wine license, but I don't believe an all-alcoholic license if she's not a nonprofit organization registered with the state. I just don't want to get us in trouble, so.
it's my understanding that the manager of typically a nonprofit organization would be the person applying for all alcoholic beverage as it's defined by state law.
So does she qualify?
Well, I can only tell you precedent, if this young woman is being singled out, so be it. But I know that in the past, we've had other applicants for all alcoholic beverages for one-day licenses who have been granted and I'm just, generally speaking, I would say don't meet the criteria of a nonprofit organization. If that be obviously by statute. We can look at that and possibly this matter, since her event is for July the 10th, it's certainly sufficient time for the licensing board to review that and to see if in fact an applicant like Ms. Villanueva is by statute allowed to apply for such a license. Or
Yeah, look, I have no problem when, I'll proceed forward with it today, provided that it's, legal, and if it's not, we can always reduce it to a beer and wine only.
well, she has to apply for the beer and wine. She didn't apply for the beer and wine. She applied for the all alcoholic.
Oh, okay, but isn't that kind of like
So if she
lesser
wants to
included?
just go for beer and wine,
Yes.
that's fine too.
Yeah.
What's that?
Come up to the mic. Pull the mic down.
No matter to me, one or the other.
I'm sorry.
No
don't
matter
have
to you whether it's one or the other. I mean, if with this precedent that we've granted all alcoholic license in the past to other than a nonprofit corporation, I wouldn't see the problem with it in this instance. And then going forward, we'll just make it clear when someone applies that, you have to be a nonprofit organization for a one-day all.
Yeah, no, it's nothing. I just want to make sure we're not doing anything that Boston's going to
Why
come back and
penalize
say
her?
we were acting in a criminal or
It's a good,
irresponsible
yeah, but
manner.
that's a good point. Good point. That's a good point. The precedent has been, has been set before. And I think that you've brought up a very valid point, don't get it wrong, but I think as far as this young lady's concerned, you know, as far as I think we should go ahead with it and then, you know, get a ruling from the law department to be sure which way we stand with it, and then that would give us the format to base the rest of the decisions on to go from there. Okay, now, that being said, how many of you have been before us before?
Excuse me?
How many of you have been here before? Just one, okay? The License Commission has taken a very strong stand on this. You have to understand that encompassed with you getting this license, there are certain responsibilities that you must abide by. Number one is your event is going to be in a city park. You must designate the area that you're going to let people drink in. They can't just wander around the whole park. They have to be in a defined area. Now, however big that area is, that's up to you. But I don't care whether it's a rope or it's cones or a fence or whatever you want, but you should define that area, and you got to make sure that people understand you stay in here. You don't go outside this area with a drink, okay? You should make sure that you have the license present and that you understand it's your license. You know, sometimes like with a wedding anniversary or a party, everybody's having a good time. You know, Uncle Frank's having a few too many pops, and nobody wants to shut him off because it's Uncle Frank, you know? And he's a good guy. But if Uncle Frank wraps himself around a tree, guess who's going to pay? You are. Not the wedding party, not the people you ran the party for. You are. Okay? And that's where the problem is created. In getting this liquor license, it is your liquor license. It does not belong to anybody but you. So if you're there and you don't like the way things are going, you simply say, you know, this is my license. Shut the bar down. Now, I always tell people, especially lay people such as yourselves that are in an event, make sure you have your cell phone and make sure you have the police number or 911. The moment something, if any kind of a, you know, sometimes the anniversary parties don't end up being what we think they do because a lot of the old problems come out after a couple of beers or whatever, okay? And we want to be sure that you press the button and ask the police to come right over. Now, the police aren't going to come over and yell and scream at you or anything. They're there to help you, but you got to be the one to initiate that call and say, hey, look, I got a couple of clowns over here that are, you know, giving me a hard time. Can you come over and get rid of them, or whatever the case may be, okay? The same with serving drinks. You've got somebody who wants to serve the drinks. Oh, don't worry about it. I'll be the bartender. 1 for you, 2 for me. 1 for you, 2 for me. All of a sudden, you know, it's totally out of control. Guess who's responsible? Right, you, and nobody else. And so you're going to be held. So whomever you put your trust in to be the bartender or to serve the drinks has to know that that's a tremendous responsibility that you're giving them. And even though it could be your sister, it could be your brother, it could be your mother, your father, I don't care who it is, keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on them because you're the one that's going to suffer the consequences and the loss if they decide to give a drink to a minor or decide to give somebody a drink who's had too many already, okay? Do you have any questions at all? Do you have any questions, sir? Do you understand what I've said? Yes. You do? Okay. Do you have any questions? No? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
To the extent we can, I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Yes. I hope you have a great day, and I hope we don't see you back here.
Getting a
Are we
sound
gonna do the
permit,
sound?
wedding. The wedding's not getting a sound permit. The girl who's getting for the wedding isn't getting a sound permit. They're gonna be on Fort Hill Park.
There's only one applicant,
Application.
there's only one application for, well, two applications for special event permits for sound amplification. That's to do with the temple, Wat Lao Mixarium from New England, Kamani Lakampang is representative, for the outdoor event on temple grounds at 45 Bernier Street for Saturday, July 3rd, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., a band with sound system, and Sunday, July 4th, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., a band with sound system.
Introduce yourself for the record. What's your name?
My name is Kimani. Came from Lowell, Sanyalam.
Where is Bernier Street?
On the South Low.
South Lowell,
Yes.
off of
Up,
Main Street? Lawrence Street?
go to 495, exit 37.
Woburn Street.
Off
It's
of Woburn.
Street.
Off of Woburn. Okay,
Go under 495 and it's on your right.
okay, so it's just up the street from St. is it
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's Church? Are they just up the street there, on the right?
The other side of 495 from the church.
Yeah,
The other side going out,
right.
Yes.
going away from this? Okay, so it's more of a suburban setting than a,
Yes.
okay, all right. That doesn't mean you can just play them, what time, you're only going to 7 o'clock, I don't see a problem with it. You know, the only thing you gotta do is be careful of the volume, how loud it is, okay? You might have a lot of people down there with very sensitive hearing, so you've gotta be careful, you kinda keep it down, okay?
Yes.
All right.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Good luck to you.
Good luck.
Clock.
Thank you.
Liliana? Oh, there she is. For a sidewalk stand permit for 2010, Liliana Kulape of downtown Danceware at 120 Merrimack Street, a seasonal license beginning June 26 to the end of October 2010.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Liliana Kualapai.
Okay, I presume you have your insurance and everything on file with the city?
I have it with me.
Okay, the only thing that, you know, we like to try to remind people of is you've got to keep the sidewalk open so that people in a wheelchair or, you know, something like that can make their way, you know, down.
When you're not driving, you're a rascal.
Right. And, you know, anything else, guys?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
You're all set. Not me, no. I'm not a rascal. Hey, you have a baby?
I know, she's gonna kill, she's ready to kill everything. Yeah, I know.
Commission will now take up an application for public amusement for concert. Diamond Action Inc., Tim Bauman is the general manager, for Wednesday, June 30th, 2010, from 4:30 PM to 10 PM at the Lasher Park, 450 Aiken Street.
Introduce yourself for the,
Tim Ballman.
hi, Tim.
Hi.
What's the name of the concert?
It's called The Further. They formerly were known as the Grateful Dead, minus Jerry Garcia. But it's our third year in a row we've had a concert at the
Are they gonna
ballpark.
disinter Jerry Garcia, bring him to it?
It's the whole gang except for him. He'll be
Oh.
there with us in spirit, though.
That's a hard ache, isn't it?
I think so.
Just remember, you have the one neighbor.
It's gonna be loud.
It will be
I
loud,
know that it's gonna be loud.
right? And we've informed them that 10
No,
o'clock
it's
is
not
our
happy
sound out
music, not
ordinance.
by any means. Huh?
We have informed the concert promoter that 10 o'clock is the sound ordinance, so they're aware of that.
All right.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Thank you very much.
All right, good luck with it.
The matter to do with public hearing on the Sporting and Athletic Club of Lowell has been withdrawn, and will be refiled in the near future. Commission will now open a hearing on a public hearing for interest rate. A pawnbroker licensed in the city of Lowell shall charge for all loans in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 78. Mr. Chairman, if I may just also indicate that there are 2 representatives for pawnbrokers in the city of Lowell present. Third member, or third licensed pawnbroker, and there's only 3 in the city, by the way, Christopher McCarthy of Lowell Jewelry and Loan at 181 East Merrimack Street. Soon after he received the formal notice of the hearing this afternoon, contacted me at the office and indicated that he would be unavailable to meet with the board or be at the hearing this afternoon, for he had already made arrangements to be traveling, and that those arrangements had been occurred in February of 2010. So with that in mind, he is just requesting that this matter of a hearing be continued to the next regular meeting, which was June 24th. Having said that, though, the commission will open a hearing on the matter of pawnbroker for public comment and favorable or against, and go from there, if you wish.
Let me just double check. When, because I did see some correspondence on it. When
Yeah.
was he returning?
The next meeting.
Next meeting?
He, according to his communication and the conversation I had, and he also forwarded a communication
Okay.
to this office, to the License Commission office, and he had made plans to be, this particular week, in fact, traveling with his wife. He's apparently at his place of destination as we speak right now, and he's not due home till this Saturday.
All right, well, I'll just make a motion then that we open the meeting, but then keep it open for the next meeting. I mean, unless city solicitor tells us we're on some kind of a time crunch. I mean, he did immediately upon our setting a date, contact us and request the opportunity. If anybody's, are we in any kind of time rush on this?
Well, let me just say this.
Hear from 2 members. and-
Brian Lee, he is not with us right now. He's not available.
Okay.
He's very familiar with this topic and the very issue of why we're having this hearing to begin with. It all stems from the Commissioner of Banks' office, in which the License Commission several years ago had adopted regulations for a pawnbroker, but in doing the adoption of those regulations, had set an interest rate of 5% or 60% per annum. The Commissioner of Banks maintains, and by statute maintains, that unless the Commissioner of Banks approves the regulations of the local licensing authority, and which would include the interest rate that a pawnbroker may be charging as whoever's a licensed pawnbroker, then it's not valid, or the regulations are not acceptable to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's the position the Commissioner of Banks has maintained from the beginning. They're following up on this matter at this time because obviously there's been several years have passed in which the License Commission here in Lowell has done nothing to satisfy the Commissioner of Banks' request. That the interest rate be anything less than 5% is basically what it's the issue that they want the licensing board to address. And the fact is that unless the licensing board can justify an interest rate greater than what they deem to be acceptable, no greater than 3% or 36% per annum, then they won't approve anything greater than 3%, unless the licensing board can show them how and justify why. Okay. So the principals involved with these businesses, 2 of whom are here now, and as I recognize them from my dealings with their applications, though we know that Mr. McCarthy's not with us, the husband of Sarah Soko-San is here. She has a pawnbroker's license for 28 Branch Street, and...
Where is he? Oh, okay.
And also we have Lee A. He
Okay.
is the owner of Amoy LLC at 719 Middlesex Street. And they're directly, it would be impacted on any change. Now, it's my understanding that Assistant City Solicitor Brian Lee had received a written communication from the Commissioner of Banks, in which I have copies of that, in which apparently the Office of the Attorney General, excuse me, had investigators contact these local pawnbrokers. I have no basis to, if that's true or not, and I don't know if Assistant City Solicitor Brian Leahy has proof beyond what is claimed in this communication that we have copy of before us now, dated May 13th. But in that communication, it states, in third to the last paragraph, it states, during 2009, the Office of Attorney General of Massachusetts investigated interest rates charged and possible violations of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 93A, Section 5, by pawnbrokers in the municipalities of Fall River, Lynn, Stoughton, and Lowell, where the division had not approved pawnbroker interest rates. As a result of these investigations, the Office of Attorney General reached agreements with individual pawnbrokers in these municipalities in which they agreed to charge an interest rate that is not expressly approved by the division and not exceed a rate of 3% per month. Additionally, the division has engaged all of municipalities where the pawnbrokers are located, and the cities of Fall River and Stoughton are currently resolving this matter. The city of Lynn previously sought and received approval from the division, an interest rate of 3% per month or 36% annually on December 2nd, 2009. With this, in the second to last paragraph, with this, the division is reiterating that the city of Lowell does not have, nor has it sought approval for the interest rate charged by pawnbrokers in Lowell. And that's a summation of that.
All right, so can we begin the
Well,
hearing?
first of all, we got two people that are interested. They might rather wait and be heard, all of them at one time. In other words, when the other gentleman is here. If they would rather do that, I would rather give you that opportunity before we open the hearing. Would it be better for the three of you to get together to make a front, or do you want to each get up at this point? Do you have any wishes either way?
I guess we're saying we're willing to open the hearing now if you want to have it opened, or we'll keep it open sufficient for the
Right,
other
we're not
person
going
to
to
come
make a
back.
decision today.
That's
because
basically,
we're
do you
gonna
want to speak
allow
today,
the
or
other
do you
guy
want to come back
in.
on another day?
Huh? You can come back. How about you, sir? You can come back also. Okay, then I think I would, if it's all, is there anybody else other than these two gentlemen here to speak on this? Either for, pro, or con. Either pro or con. Either pro or con. That being said, I make a motion to postpone the hearing on this until the next meeting.
All right, I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
I think that's the fairest way to do it, is if you get together with the other fellow, the three of you come in, okay? Uncle wants to put his hand in your pocket. I want to give you every chance to bite it off.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, just for the record, the legal notice had been published in the Lowell Sun newspaper on, a public notice, I should say, was published Friday, May 28th, and the Office of the License Commission notified the three licensed pawnbrokers of this hearing today. I don't believe there's any further reason for the License Commission to advertise or publish another notice.
That would be correct.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, so the next meeting is going to be
It would be for June 24th at 3 o'clock. in the
June
City Council-
24th,
City Council chamber.
okay? Right here, 3 o'clock.
See you in 2 weeks.
That's a guy, telling people what they can. Huh? Let's go to work. Yeah. Let's get him.
Okay, now the commission will take up the matters of the superintendent of police complaints against several licensees in the city of Lowell. Kenneth E. LaValle, Superintendent of Police. allegations of misconduct against the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee TR Enterprises, Inc., doing business as El Rincon at 135 Central Street. Ray Serrano is the manager of record.
Okay, if you could step up to the mic and introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. My name is Attorney Michael Zame. I represent Mr. Ray Serrano, who's here with me today.
Okay. Have you read the complaint,
Yeah,
Counselor?
we read the complaint. Mr. Bayless, I'm going to ask that you recuse yourself.
Me?
Yes.
Why?
Why? Because the last time I was here, you recused yourself. Going back through my records, there was one time where I represented you and your wife with respect to a petition to abandon property next to an abandoned street next to your parcel of
Yeah,
land.
but we don't have any financial interest in within each other.
I represented
I've got a
you
letter
before.
on file with the manager. I'm not recusing myself.
Well, then as an officer of the court, is that I'd have to advise you that you're probably going to have an ethics violation if you insist on sitting on the matter.
Counselor?
I'm not familiar with the specifics of the,
Excuse me?
I'm not familiar with the specifics of,
Okay, well, what he's referring to is I bought a home I'm one of these guys that believe I should live in the community that I make my living, so I bought a home on Lincoln Parkway. And there was a little strip of land alongside of it that got abandoned. And when the property was surveyed, there was a little pie sheet piece of land that was left behind that abutted my property. And, you know, the city split the land up amongst the property owners, but this was on my side. And so to square off the property, I totally forgot, but you file the papers for me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And the city, you know, abandoned the property to me. I don't even, well, I don't want to.
Well, I mean, this goes back, is that
excuse me, Attorney Zane, just, when did this occur?
2003.
2003.
You indicated they had a letter on file
Yes, I do, with the city manager.
regarding the specific incident?
No, just saying that the last time Attorney Zame appeared here, somebody brought up the fact that he is a brother to my son-in-law and tried to make an issue of it, so I did recuse myself because of that. I didn't want the appearance of Attorney Zame or myself conspiring to do anything. So then I wrote a letter to the manager explaining that situation. Unfortunately, I never got a response to my letter. But I did write a letter, and I have a copy of it in my file at home.
But again, you indicate that you have a letter on file regarding
Our relationship,
the relationship with Attorney Zame through your son-in-law?
yes.
Do you have
He
a
is
let-
my, huh?
Do you have a letter on file regarding a formal contractual relationship with you and Attorney Zame?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a letter on file regarding any contractual relationship
No.
between you and Attorney Zame?
We don't have any contractual relationship. Well, this wasn't, I wasn't buying a piece of property, no money exchanged hands. This was simply an abandoned piece of property.
You didn't pay Attorney Zame anything?
No.
Correct, that is correct. Regardless of whether or not he pays for the services, I did render a service. We had an attorney-client privilege. And now that, with respect to acknowledging that before there's a potential conflict of interest, it's not my conflict of interest. As an officer of the court, you know, like I said, I'm just telling you that he faces potential violations of Chapter 268A for conflict of interest. And, you know, if he wants to do so, he can proceed at his own peril. That's just, as an officer of the court, I have an obligation to advise someone that may find themselves in violation of the law.
I'm not sure it's that clear, but,
It's real simple.
no, I
I
understand the
mean,
situation.
there's nothing to this. This is,
without-
we're talking about nothing. We're talking about the city abandoned a
Well,
street.
but you're talking about the individual who is representing someone in front of you, represented you in the past, and that's.
This wasn't
that's
something
the
that I
concept.
asked him to go to the city for. I was the one that found it. Actually, what's his name? The clerk of, Richard Howard Jr. gave me the map. I knew about the piece of property. I simply went to Michael and said, this little piece of property goes across the front of my land, and we filed for it. That was all there was to it, and he...
And my initial reaction is, if there was a letter on file with the appointing authority regarding this, you would be able to sit. if there's not a letter on file with the appointing authority, you would need to inform the appointing authority prior to saying on any matter. That being said, I mean, I think the two options would be, you could choose to recuse yourself, or you could request that the commission put this matter over to the next hearing, during which time you would submit a letter on file to your appointing authority regarding the specific incident. Again, it would have to be reviewed at the time, but my initial reaction would be, if there wasn't any money changed hands, that it may be deemed to be, there not be a
What can happen
relationship with such.
if I decide not to recuse myself? Can I go to jail for a few days? Little peace and quiet?
If you decide not to recuse yourself, you could, as Attorney Saman said, face ethics violations, which come with potential fines as penalties.
The penalty would include being disqualified from serving on the board you're on. That's including the penalty for a violation of the specific statute.
That's good. That is a potential penalty. It's not a mandatory penalty. But my suggestion would be, if the commission deems it appropriate, that you continue the matter and place a letter on file with the appointing authority. If you want to proceed today, I would suggest that you would need to recuse yourself. And those are the two options, I think.
Make a motion to postpone it for 2 weeks. He can pay to have his client come back.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
For the record, is that there's also police officers here on city overtime who will have to come back as well.
That's right.
And for the record, could we put on the record that I'd like you to disclose all of the relationships over the past years with respect to when I was employed by you,
Oh, my God. How, okay.
when we served on several boards together,
Yep,
the fact that I represented you
yep,
in the past,
okay.
so that, just so we're clear. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you.
You got it.
So the matter of the hearing on the complaint against TI Enterprises, Inc., as it pertains to the incident of April 30th, 2010, in which the superintendent of police outlines the particulars of the police officers and activity that evening at the restaurant known as El Rincon, will be continued to the next regular meeting, which is June 24th at 3 p.m. in the City Council chamber. And the commission will now open a hearing on an allegation of misconduct from the superintendent of police, Kenneth E. LaValle. Misconduct against the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee Lowell, Inc., doing business as Super Bowl Restaurant and Pub, 1733 Middlesex Street. Hongmin Baum is the manager of record, and this pertains to the incident outside the licensed establishment at April 18, 2010.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Hong Pham. I'm with the Super Bowl Restaurant. I'm the manager.
Okay. Have you read the complaint?
My name's Robert Pater, security at the Super Bowl.
Yes, I have read the complaint.
You have, okay. Captain Webb, would you read the complaint into the record, please?
Mr. Chairman, on April 18th of this year, at 1:41 a.m. in the morning, Officer Moriarty was dispatched to the Super Bowl restaurant at 1733 Middlesex Street for reported gunshots. When Officer Moriarty arrived, he found 30 or 40 people in the street and another 200 people in the parking lot of the restaurant. Several fights were taking place, and Officer Moriarty called for assistance. While investigating the incident, Officer Moriarty was told that several fights had taken place inside the restaurant and that a man in a white Acura had driven into the crowd outside in the parking lot and had produced a handgun and fired several shots. This next bit of information has nothing to do with the complaint, but just for the Commissioner's information. Several days later, as a result of an investigation, detectives from Lowell Police Department did find that vehicle and recovered a handgun from inside. And in regards to this incident, no calls were received from the Super Bowl restaurant at that time reporting any fights inside. Officer Moriarty is present today if you'd like to hear from him.
Sure.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Officer Dennis Moriarty, Lowell Police Department.
Hey, good afternoon. What happened?
I think the captain just read the report on the date in question. I was dispatched for shots fired. Upon arrival, I saw a large group in the middle of Middlesex Street, a couple fights going on. Activated my overhead lights and sirens to disperse the crowd. I called for a couple units to assist me. Approximately three patrol cars and 2 supervisors. I know Captain Webb was working that night on a detail, and Lieutenant Poffin also showed up. We blocked Middlesex Street entirely to remove all the cars from the parking lot. We got all the cars out of the parking lot. I was approached by this gentleman who had just been assaulted. He was working security there. He informed me that a gentleman had brandished a handgun and shot several rounds into the air. We were unable to find casings on the spot, but we got an accurate description of the vehicle. We put out a stop and hold, and as the captain testified later on a follow-up investigation by the criminal division, they located the vehicle and located the firearm.
Okay. So the security was helpful and informative?
Yes. This gentleman was working with his brother and 2 other individuals. I know that he was assaulted that night. They were assisting us removing the crowd. It just, this was a situation that's occurred in the past where I believe they wait too long before they start thinning the crowd out. This was approximately 10 of 2 at night, and we still had all these people in the parking lot and all these people basically interfering with the traffic flow of Middlesex Street.
Okay. Any questions?
No. This was at 1:45 in the morning. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah? Okay. I don't have any questions. Good.
Do you have any reports that there was a handgun inside the establishment? Or any?
No, I do not.
Okay. So the only report of a handgun was from the security officer who said that it was brandished out of the car in the parking lot?
No, we were sent there on a separate call. The security didn't call the police.
Okay.
The restaurant didn't call the police. There was
Was there any fights inside, in the building?
I didn't go in the building.
Nobody
at
went
that
in the
time.
building to know?
The main fight was right in the middle of Middlesex Street. It had, right in front of Kentucky Chicken.
okay.
The traffic was completely stopped.
Yeah.
I just know that we've raised the issue before, is that the licensed premises end at the door where they can't serve alcohol. So we just need to determine whether or not something happened on the licensed premises.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Why don't we hear from security?
Yeah.
On that night, I did observe a fight. As soon as I walked out the door, we were dispersing the crowd out of the building. And someone told me there was a fight, and I grabbed an individual and broke him away from the other guy that was trying to hit him. I got punched in the back of the head, and 2 other Asian guys wanted to fight me, and I called 911, who said they were the Andover State Police Barracks, put me on hold. I noticed I was the only security guy out there at that point. I ran in and got my brother, came back out, noticed the white Acura pull up, and the guy got out of the car, went in the middle of Middlesex Street while there was fights going on everywhere, and fired like 5 shots into the air. And I watched him get back into his car. I ran around and I got his license plate number so I could give it to the officers when they arrived. And then I called the Lowell police station from my cell phone. The reason why I didn't go in and use the Super Bowl phone is because I had my cell phone on me. Why would I run?
Why didn't you call them first instead of calling 911?
Because emergency, you dial 911, but they put me on hold, but then I called the Lowell police after that.
You know, you're gonna have,
911's easier. I mean, I have the Lowell police programmed into my phone, but 911 was easier, but then when I couldn't get any help from them, I did call the Lowell Police Department.
well, I mean, you know, just a point of interest there is not being, and I'm not trying to, I think you tried to do what was right, but I think you went about it in a roundabout way, and that was, I would have had my cell phone, as I tell everybody who's got a one-day license, the first number, when you're doing something like that, and you're responsible for people's safety, and you are responsible, and you are responsible for the ones in the parking lot, because I'm not so dumb as to believe that some of them didn't go in and out and whatnot, and plus you have the outdoor patio there, okay? And I don't know what, do you allow people to park those tractor-trailer trucks in the back? Down in the back, behind your place of business. I've gone by there a few times, and there's one or two big tractor-trailer trucks parked down in the back there. What are they doing in there?
There is a tractor truck parked back there, however, I do not know what's going on with that.
You own the building?
I do not own the building, I only own the business.
Okay. You leased your premises?
Yeah, I lease the premises.
But
from
you
guy
leased the
next door.
parking lot, too.
Yes, the parking lot in the agreement says that I get to use the whole parking lot. There have been people who have asked to leave their truck or car overnight, but further than that, I do not know how that's pertaining to this.
So you have no idea who owns that truck?
I can find out for you if you wanted to know.
I don't care who owns it, I don't think it should be there.
Okay, I will definitely let
I think
the
it's
other
just
people in the
another
corporation know.
distraction to, you've got enough going on. The last time you were here, I believe, we talked about the parking area and whatnot, and about you putting somebody out there in the parking area.
Yes,
You know, I think if you had somebody in the parking area, and as people were leaving, they encouraged them to leave.
Yes, we do encourage people to
Instead of
leave.
getting them, you know, built up to 100, 150 people pushing and shoving, if you had a police officer or somebody there to say, look, you know, if you get in your car and leave, and if they start to give you a hard time, that's when you call the police right then and there. You don't wait till somebody starts swinging.
No, we don't wait until anyone actually starts physical violence. When something escalates like that, we do let the police know. We
Yeah,
have
but-
people
but
at all
that-
the entrances.
By the time it started to escalate, it's too late.
I know, but it can happen in a split second.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, but if you've got somebody in the parking lot and say to them, look, when people are coming out, you ask them to go to their car and leave. And if they won't do it, if they're belligerent, that's when you call the police right then and there. You don't wait till it gets any further.
Yes, we have
'Cause that's
security
what-
outside.
The
We have-
policeman's gonna be happy to go down there and say, hey, let's go, let's get out of here. You know, they don't wanna be stuck there overnight. They don't wanna be
understand.
down there breaking up a fight. They don't wanna be down there worrying about whether they're gonna get home in one piece. Okay? You gotta stop it before it gets up there. And you're right, it happens in a split second, but better it should happen in a split second in one instance than to have it happen in 4 or 5 areas and somebody's trying to, you know, straighten it out.
When was the last time you were in here?
I was in here possibly at the last meeting. I'm not sure what day that was.
Was it the last meeting?
I think it was
Do we have a
May.
date? Do you know when he was here?
Beginning of May.
Beginning of May?
The restaurant we had a complaint hearing on previous incident, and that was a hearing held April 22nd, in which the License Commission had found the licensee, Hung Long, Inc., in violation of Regulation Number 8 and Regulation Number 25. Regulation Number 8 pertains to removal of alcohol beverages off the premises, taking of alcohol, and also Regulation 25 pertains to the failing to notify the Lowell Police of an incident. And the licensing board, in its decision on that matter, found 2 counts in violation, and there was a 7 days decrease in hours from 2 a.m. to 11 p.m., and that said decrease be in abeyance for 6 months, which be an expiration of October 21st, 2010.
And Since that last meeting, we gave you a pretty hard time about the way your establishment was going, and you had an attorney last time. What changes to your security have you made since that last meeting? Because we gave you a hard time that day, but this occurred before we gave you that hard time.
I understand.
So what have you changed since then?
We have changed ever since we got the letter for the last meeting.
Yeah.
We had people outside in the parking lot directing the traffic. So we do have a person who makes sure there's no congestion so people don't honk their horns and get angry. We do make sure that people leave on a timely basis. We end at 1:30 and we give them some time before 2 o'clock to leave.
How much time?
Half an hour,
Half hour?
yeah.
Okay.
So we tell our DJs, cut the music, we turn on the lights, we direct people out. We have people at the doors making sure no one's bringing out alcohol. We have people in the parking lot making sure people are leaving. Because, sometimes they go out to the parking lot and they're talking with each other, they're chatting and stuff. So we have to go out there and we have to enforce the fact that, hey, you guys don't want to be here. You don't want to be the last one out. Because if you're the last one out, you might be followed by an officer and that's not going to go too well.
On a typical, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, how many security personnel do you employ?
4.
4. Okay. And you have one stationed in the parking lot? Now.
We've
not
had
then,
it,
but...
Not then. We had it at the end, but we have a rotation. Like we said last time in our last meeting, we have a rotation where one would go outside, checking the parking lot, come back, switch with someone, they would just rotate. And then towards the end of the night, when we don't need people inside as much, we have everyone outside directing the traffic.
Well, my concern with this complaint is, one, we went over this last time. The place is turning into a hellhole, it sounds like. But we did tell you that you could do some things to fix it up.
Yes.
And you're telling me that you have.
Yes.
With this complaint, there was you're telling me that you called 911 and you called the Lowell police.
Yes.
Okay. Does the Lowell police know who called them? It says that they responded to...
No, because he called Andover. And he
No,
went
I know, but it says that Officer Dennis Moriarty was dispatched to the Super Bowl restaurant for report of gunshots, so someone must have reported it. Do we know who did report it?
Yeah, I did.
No, but I'm asking the police.
I can't tell you who made
I can't
the
tell who reported it. The fact that there's no evidence that there was a gun in the establishment, I think the place is bad news, but with what this complaint is on, it just doesn't pass the smell test to me.
I gotta agree. Look, I know we told you when you first came in here and first got the license that you were picking up a business that had a very bad reputation, all right, and that you were gonna get a lot of the same clientele who were gonna come back now that it was open again. Look, personally, I'm glad that your security was out there. Sir, I'm glad you were able to get the information on the vehicle, the make, the model, the license plate, and that the police were able to recover the handgun. I think that's good for the city. So I think, you're doing the right thing as far as getting security outside when people are closing.
I'd also like to point out that during that week, it was Cambodian New Year.
Yeah, but that's no excuse.
That's a built-in risk.
Yeah.
Okay,
understand.
for whatever the holiday is.
So we were
you know.
definitely looking out for trouble, so.
Yeah, and look, I appreciate all that, and I think you're on the right track. I don't think when you bought the business, you knew what you were getting into, but I think you're kind of learning that really quickly because you're attracting a lot of the same crowd, and I think you gotta do more to try and push the bad element away, all right? But again, I agree with Commissioner Occasion. I don't see that there's any evidence that anything was happening on the licensed premises themselves, but that it was out in the street or out in the side or out in the parking lot in unlicensed areas. So, sir, I appreciate the fact that you did everything you did as far as assisting the police and as far as gathering that information.
One of the reasons I did do that was to go out of my way to get the license plate number was because I don't want any other incidents, and if I could have taken a gun off the street, I wanted to, because we don't want any more trouble down there. I'm sick of it, the patrons are sick of it, it's getting a bad name, so I was trying to do whatever I could.
Well, like I said, you gotta be careful because it had a bad name going in.
Yeah.
And I know you opened it up under a new name, but a lot of the same problem sees the location and wants to go to a familiar location as opposed to, they just don't understand that it's got to be under new business management. And, you know, I'd like you to keep it up. All right? Do your best to get rid of them.
The same difference would if you know people that come in there that are troublemakers, don't let them in. It's your liquor license. You don't let them in. If it had been the new year, I would have imagined you would have put on a couple more extra people, knowing that people would have probably partied a little bit harder. You know, I agree. I'm not, I looked at it, and I've been driving by the place at night and looking, and I think that we try to say this to people that buy these places that have traditionally been problems. Once a place has a reputation, it's so difficult to break it and to change it. So, I would definitely watch that parking lot, because I think that's the soil. People pull into your parking lot before they go inside and they sit down and have a beer, so they whack down a couple out in the car before they go in. Now you're putting up with them, and they're on the verge of going over the edge. And again, I mean, I would say to you, sir, you did a great job, and you did a great public service by being smart enough to get the license plate and whatnot. But I would say to you that everybody that you have as far as security should have the police direct number, right like that, boom. Maybe you didn't realize it went to Andover, but and then...
Lowell Police Department is the first number on my phone now.
Okay, and that's the way it should be. And the moment even if you think there's going to be a problem, you see something and it just doesn't look right, call the police. They're certainly not going to, if they give you a hard time, you come and see me. We'll talk about that with them, but they don't want to be involved in the middle of this mess. They want to be able to, go around the city, check on things, help people. That's what they're there for. They're not there to be taking chances of somebody getting, hurt or maimed. It's just crazy.
One thing we have discussed already since this incident is the upcoming, the Asian Water Festival that's coming down the river in August. And we've already discussed, adding more security that weekend because we know we're going to get a lot of people in.
And you're just across the river, right?
Right there, I know.
Exactly.
I told him we're the closest club to the festival, and
Okay.
it's going to attract a lot of people.
What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion just to put the complaint on record.
On file?
On file.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Commission will now open a hearing on the allegations of misconduct as filed by Kenneth E. LaValle, Superintendent of Police, against the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee Puff Inc., 171 Lakeview Avenue. Claude Charlotte is the manager of record.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening. My name is Claude Charlotte.
Okay. Have you read the complaint, Claude?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to ask Captain Webb if you just read the complaint into the record, or a brief synopsis of the complaint.
Mr. Chairman, on May 2nd of this year at 1:32 a.m., Officer Levitt was dispatched to the C-Spot at 171 Lakeview Ave for a report of gunshots. When Officer Levitt arrived on the scene, he saw a vehicle leaving the scene with no headlights on. Officer Levitt stopped the vehicle, found two men in that vehicle who told them that they had just left the C-Spot because a fight had broken out inside and the patrons inside were told to leave. Upon further investigation, Officer Levitt discovered a handgun and a knife in that vehicle, and both men were placed under arrest. And a check of department records finds that no calls were received from the C-Spot about any fights inside. Officer Levitt is here if you'd like to hear from him.
Okay, sure. Would you,
Also, what?
just in your own words, if you'd...
Responded to shots fired call at Lakeview and Colburn.
1:30 in the morning, regarding several males in white T-shirts pursuing another male down Coleman Street. Upon arrival, I noticed a white Lexus with its lights not on, and I noted that criminals will frequently attempt to evade detection by police by not illuminating the lights. So I hit my emergency lights and spotlight, further illuminated the inside of the car, and noticed two black male occupants wearing white T-shirts, stopped the car, approached the vehicle, noticed both occupants were sweating and out of breath, as if they were just running down the street, and asked them for their license. Mr. Mello said he didn't have a license on him, found out it was suspended. I illuminated the interior of the car further and noticed a silver revolver in the right rear footwell. Called for backup, conducted a felony extraction, and found the other occupant had a knife on him, and they said they were just coming from the C-Spot nightclub when a fight broke out, and they heard the gunshots. And they said that they were parked about 4 spaces from the front of the C-Spot. But I also noted that there's an inconsistency that they'd be sweating just walking from 4 spots, from the nightclub to 4 spots of the car. And I also noted that Keish Harden, who was a passenger, had the gun behind him, had a relative murdered at that location a year ago.
I mean, it's going,
Go ahead.
I guess, yeah, I had the same question kind of popping in my head when I looked at the police report. If they were parked 4 spots, what kind of shape were these guys in that they worked up a sweat by getting from?
One was very large. Keish Harden's about 300 pounds, and the other one about, I don't know, $180.
Okay.
Medium size.
I mean, are we thinking that they went there to get even with somebody, or these were the guys that were chasing somebody?
Well, shell casings were recovered at West 3rd Street, about 300 feet away from where they parked their car. Later on, the next morning when light broke.
All right, so the shell casings were about 300 feet away from where they say their car was?
Right.
Did you see them pull out of a parking spot, or just catch them while they were trying to evade you?
I seen them leaving the intersection of Coben outbound on Lakeview.
And the shell casings, were they the same as the weapon? Same caliber?
They were recovered by Officer Quigley. I'm not sure what they were the next day.
Did you go inside after to talk to them? Did you have any testimony from anybody inside that they were in there before they went out, or that the fight broke out in there?
It was locked.
Inside?
It was locked up when I showed up.
The club was closed?
The club was closed.
The club was closed when you went back, or was closed when you first?
On arrival. The lights were out, doors were closed, locked.
Could have they got everybody out of the building that fast?
I don't know when the actual fight broke out, when they cleared the bar.
Well, I understand that, and I'm not trying to say that what it is. I'm just, I'm looking at this, and it's 1:30 by your account, okay? And we usually try to tell everybody, have your last call by 1:30, so everybody can be out the door by 2. All right. If I had got, my philosophy's always been that way, I guess has been in the past, that I've always kind of laughed at this thing when they, when we get these reports in the mail from the ABC in Boston or whatnot that says, so-and-so was stopped for drunk driving and he said he was drinking at, here or there. Because, you know yourself, I mean, human nature, what it is, if the guy's bar that you're at is a friend of yours, I don't know that you're going to give him up. I think, probably human nature being what it is, you'd name somebody else. And I'm just wondering if, this guy telling you that this broke out, how could they evacuate the club that quick and have everybody gone? Now, did you bang on the door, right? It was just completely locked up and all the lights were out.
I did knock on the door and it was locked.
Yeah,
And if there was a fight in the establishment,
yeah.
and they cleared everybody out.
I mean, they have to do it quick. I mean, it would have been real quick.
I know, it
Mr.
just,
Chairman, could I make an observation?
Sure.
Yes.
The officer received the call at 1:32. However long it took the officer to get there, even if it was 30 seconds or a minute, that's a brief period of time. Then he saw the car pull away, pulled the car over, made his observations, called for a backup. However long he has to wait for a backup, then a backup arrives, and the officers did a felony extraction from the vehicle and made an arrest of 2 people, had to call for the wagon, wait for the wagon to come. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking 15, 20 minutes for all that activity to take place. By the time Officer Levitt could have gone back to the bar to try to gain entry, I just wanted to point out that it could have been as long as 20 minutes.
Let me ask you, how far away from the club was the stop conducted?
It was right in front of it, the intersection.
didn't see anybody. Did you see anybody exiting the
You see anybody
C-spot?
coming out of the club?
My mind was directed on a stop.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically comes down to this. Do we take the word of John Mello that he was involved in a disturbance at the club?
And even if he wasn't a disturbance, though, and the club got him out of their building to protect the other patrons,
Yeah, then, no, if there was a disturbance and they got him out, then they're liable for it, because they should have called. They, you know, this idea that you think you can just take him and dump him out on the sidewalk or get him on the thing, that's a lot of BS. I mean, you start this thing, the fight starts in the club, I don't care how you get him out, you can get him out whatever you want. As far as I'm concerned, I look at it, you're still liable for that person. No different than if they left your establishment smashed, got in a car and hit somebody. You're liable.
Mr. Charlotte, did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I called 911. That's the first thing. What had happened, last time...
Come up to the mic, sir.
Last time I was here in front of you, Mr. Billy, and you told me you don't want to see me.
That's
and,
right.
And I took that very, very seriously. So that's why the place was closed early. I've been trying to close early because I don't want any problems. So that's why when you say 1:30, the place is already vacant. That's what it was. I guess Mello, I guess the guy's name.
Officer Mello?
Yeah.
The
Perpetrator.
We never have any problem. He had come to the C-spot before. We never had any problem with nobody. There was never a fight in there that night. Because we don't want to, I don't want to, personally, I don't want to come, I don't want to come here in front of you under this condition. And that's why we've been trying so hard. At 1 o'clock, we call last call. 1:30, we turn the lights on, everybody leaves. You know? Now, once they leave, people stay outside the door. They stay outside. That's when sometimes we go out there, my security guys go out there and tell them they have to leave because if not, we're going to call the police. You know, and that's where we bargain. And when I heard the gunshot, I was inside the bar. I was cleaning, and I heard the gunshot, and the first thing that came in my mind, I said, I got to call the police. So I took my cell phone and I called 911 from my cell phone. And while I was still on the phone with them, I saw the Lowell police outside. And one officer came to the door and asked me if I see anything. I said, I couldn't really tell you because I was inside cleaning because we shut down. We've been shutting down early because we're trying to evade the problems to come in here. So and that's what had happened. There was never a fight. If you fight, if you lay your hand on someone, anybody, you're not allowed in there. You're not been barred for 1 day or 2 weeks. We don't want you in there no more. We told you, go somewhere else. We don't want your money. And that's what's been going on because I told them I'm on probation. I don't want no problems here. And
Well,
I do
these
have
two
the
guys,
records.
you're telling us that these two fellows with the white shirts, with the white T-shirts, is that what it says? White.
Was this guy inside?
Were they inside?
He's 300 pounds.
Mello was inside. Mello was inside. But Mello never started any problems. I never heard anything. We had no problem inside the club that night. They had no problem whatsoever.
How about this Keish Harden? I mean, he's
Keish comes from time to time. He's been barred there for.
Was he there that night?
I saw him outside. I personally saw him outside.
You see him inside?
He was not in there. I saw him outside because we don't want people feel uncomfortable when he's around because he's like a bully type.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't want him in there.
Okay.
And there's several people that one of the detectives was looking for one person. And I personally approached that person. I said, don't call me no more because they are looking for you. If you come here, I'm going to call the state police and tell them that you've been coming here. And I will give them any tips that whatever they want from me, I will give it up to them.
Okay. I got it. Okay. Let me just try to get one thing in my, I'm trying to, who called the, and I don't want you to answer the,
Okay.
Okay. How did the initial shots fired call come in? Through a civilian on the 911 or the police department or how did that call come in? Do we know?
I don't believe it was a 911 call, although I won't absolutely dispute that because I'm not sure. It's my impression that it was a landline from a neighbor, but I don't have a record of that call with me, so I can't tell you that I'm absolutely certain of that.
But you believe it was a regular phone?
I think it was, but I could be wrong about that, so I
Well,
don't
'cause
want,
if he
I don't want
called
to tell you that was what happened because I can't.
If he called 911, he would have gotten Andover, right? Also,
Yes,
am I correct?
yes.
So he wouldn't have been recorded here in Lowell. I mean, does Andover record these calls? Anybody make any kind of a report that we got
As it
so
stands
many
right
calls
now,
from?
if he called 911, he'd get the state police.
Yes.
And they would transfer him to our switchboard. So he eventually, without making another call.
Eventually, though, yeah.
He would.
That didn't work too quick, I'll tell you. I was driving home from here 2 meetings ago, drove over here on the side street, and a gentleman in one of these electric wheelchairs went ass over tea kettle down the stairs. I couldn't pick up I couldn't help, the poor guy was down underneath the chair. I could not get the chair, so I called 911 and it went to Andover. Andover said, I'll transfer you to Lowell. Lowell said, I'd transfer you to the fire department, so they did. And, they sent out a fire truck and the fellas were fabulous. But I was surprised about that, and I think that's something we have to make these people aware of. You can't call 911 because you're losing too much time. 911, when you goes to Andover, is handling the whole state.
Well, actually, it doesn't even go to Andover now. It goes to General Headquarters in Framingham. And you're right, the whole state.
The whole state and
goes
things,
there,
so that can really delay something.
They're in the process of changing that system very shortly. All 911 calls will go right to each individual city and town.
Commissioner Weicker made a good observation after reviewing the police report. It does say that the reporting person was an individual who resides on Coburn Street. The next page.
No, you're right, there was a landline from a Teresa Lopez.
We don't need a...
Right there.
Oh.
I mean, to me, again, this is the same thing as the last one. I think your place is probably doesn't have the quality of people that, we would hope the establishments in Lowell have. But again, from these allegations, it's hard to show by, the standard we use here is a preponderance of the evidence. And from these allegations, it's hard to meet that standard.
And I'm going to agree. I think, your clientele leaves something to be desired. And it's stating that very nicely. You got two guys riding around with a gun in the car, sweating after somebody's reporting that two guys matching their description were chasing a third guy down the street and shooting at him.
The car was parked right in front of the bar. Right, just walk through it.
But otherwise I gotta rely on the word of, a criminal to find that something happened inside your bar.
You've been very
And
good
I
in
don't think
there.
I've got that here, so.
What's your pleasure?
And basically, I'm left in the situation where if he got into a fight in the bar and went 4 spots out the front door to leave, then he wouldn't be covered in sweat, and there wouldn't have been people seeing him running up and down the street shooting at somebody. If I believe him. If I believe he was outside running up and down the street shooting at somebody, I don't have evidence to tie him into having been in a fight at the bar.
There was never any fight at the bar, there's not any question.
Make a motion, we put it on file.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor say yes.
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 But, Claude, you've got to clean up the personnel. You got to clean up the clients.
We're working toward
I'm
that.
hoping that these 2 guys, I know you said
not
one of
allowed
them's a
in there.
nice guy, but, you know,
Yes.
you
Okay.
know,
Thank you so much.
Okay?
Commissioners, excuse me, we have a written statement from Randy Pendergast, who is withdrawing his application for a Class II used car dealer's license for premises at 859 Gorham Street. The handwritten communication is dated June 7th, 2010. Mr. Pendergast and the landlord, property owner, James Galakis, apparently were somewhat dissatisfied with the board's discussion of reducing the number of vehicles for the lot. Mr. Galakis in particular, whom I've had a conversation with after our last meeting, which was on June 3rd, earlier this week. As a matter of fact, I saw him at City Hall. And he did not want to lose the maximum number of vehicles he may have as a licensee at 20. And so apparently Mr. Pendergast and he decided that it would be best that Mr. Galakis retain his license for the balance of this year, or at least for the foreseeable future, and maintain that level of 20 vehicles. And Mr. Pendergast, apparently, he and Mr. Galakis have decided to amicably break their lease agreement, or the lease agreement that they apparently have. And Mr. Pendergast was notifying me of his intent to withdraw the application. I informed him that his filing fee of $75 was deposited with the city treasurer's office, and that would not be refundable. He understood.
I'd like to make a motion that before we reissue this license,
Yeah.
with the calendar year 2011,
Yep.
that we have the license holder in, and we'll discuss the amount of spots that are going to be subject to that license.
I'll second.
All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So generally, a license for Class 2 is subject to renewal in the month of December, and the renewal period begins the day after January 1st of 2011. Current licenses are due to expire January 1, 2011.
So should we just put it on for December 16th, or is that too much?
I will, I'm going to, what I may do, and if it's, obviously, council is left, but I would suggest maybe I'll just communicate with Mr. Galakis in writing to the board's intent that at time of renewal, he can expect to be before the commission on the subject of his allowed maximum number of vehicles. He did make a point, and I'll have to do a little research on it because I didn't take the time prior to this meeting, but when he acquired the business and the property, it had been established as 20 cars for the lot. It wasn't something he acquired when he obtained his initial license. That may be true, but I'll just double check on that.
Okay.
But nonetheless, the licensing board has the wherewithal to review such renewals and deny renewals, I believe, for cause.
Okay?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Coming home, Benjamin.